A new study from the Annenberg Idea Lab shows problems in Hollywood. See who's in and who's out.
Protests are planned outside Apple stores tomorrow. We talked to a legal expert about the battle between the media company and the FBI.
And this weekend shooting in Kalamazoo has left Uber drivers and passengers questioning the company's protocol when it comes to hiring drivers. Annenberg TV News is next.
Live from USC, you're watching Annenberg TV News.
With the Oscars quickly approaching, Hollywood has been a hot topic. Good evening, I'm Priscilla Casper.
And I'm Daniel Tran. While the glitz of the red carpet is appealing, it doesn't come without its challenges. Hollywood is the promised land for actors and filmmakers, or so you might think. A new USC Annenberg report has the facts about who's being excluded. Reporter Claudia Buccio walks us through a comprehensive study on the lack of diversity in Hollywood.
Is Hollywood a place for inclusion or invisibility? That's the question that USC Annenberg professor Stacy Smith's first comprehensive report on diversity in entertainment addresses. The study looks at minority and gender representation on screen and behind the scenes of film, TV, and digital releases from 10 major companies in the past year.
Over 20% of all stories that we evaluated didn't feature one Black or African American speaking character. Over 50% didn't feature one Asian or Asian American speaking character. Across 11,306 speaking characters, only a third were girls and women, and only 229 were from the LGBT community.
The study concluded that the entertainment industry is dominated by white straight men. The study suggests that the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite should be changed to hashtag HollywoodSoWhite. Professor Smith believes that the involvement of student researchers will encourage them to be more inclusive in hiring practices once they join the workplace.
And then it makes you more aware of things in terms of like demographic differences, how many minorities, both in gender and race, you see on screen and behind the camera.
The study concluded that the Walt Disney Company and the CW Network are the top performers when it comes to inclusion out of the 10 companies studied.
My hope is that these companies will take a look at the report and take actionable steps or best practices to start to be more inclusive so that we can see talent that looks like the population of the United States thriving on screen and behind the camera in the industry.
There is still a long way to go, but now there are numbers to understand the magnitude of exclusion. Reporting for Annenberg Media, I'm Claudia Buccio.
The hashtag HollywoodSoWhite has picked up traction on social media. People have taken to Twitter to comment on the lack of diversity the study reveals. One Twitter user said, "The problem is not hashtag #OscarsSoWhite. The Oscars show is just representation of the industry. The problem is clearly hashtag HollywoodSoWhite." Another Twitter user said, "I think the #OscarsSoWhite hashtag is a bit misleading. It makes me think it's about the trophy. It's not. It's really hashtag HollywoodSoWhite." And Dewan Balred tweeted, "Getting a black guy to host does not make everything okay. It just means he's a sellout." The discussion isn't only online. Annenberg is hosting a forum tonight to talk about the study and its impact. Reporter Ryan Thompson is live outside the Media Center awaiting a panel discussion about why there are so few women and minorities in Hollywood.
Thanks, Priscilla. In just under an hour, this stage behind me at Wallace Annenberg Hall will host a forum on that new USC Annenberg School report that everyone's talking about on diversity within the entertainment industry. The release of the report comes less than a week before the Oscars at a time when movers and shakers within the film industry are out and about in Los Angeles. It's likely that they'll be talking about the big question posed here tonight, inclusiveness within the industry. The report's author, Stacy Smith, will be joined on stage by some of those key Hollywood players, including Stephanie Elaine, the director of the LA Film Festival, Pete Nowalk, the creator of How to Get Away with Murder, and Kathy Schulman, the head of production at the Motion Picture Group for STX Entertainment. Now, the event does kick off at 7 p.m. and is open to the public, so if you want to hear more about the report that everyone's buzzing about, there's still time to get here. Live from Wallace Annenberg Hall for Annenberg Media, I'm Ryan Thompson.
Former USC football coach Steve Sarkisian claims that the university rushed him into signing a contract that forces him to keep disputes out of court. USC is trying to use the contract to place a hold on the coach's lawsuit and make him settle privately. Sarkeesian says his suit that USC broke the contract and failed to accommodate his alcoholism-related disability. He is seeking $12.6 million he believes he's still owed by the university. The public battle between Apple and the FBI is heating up over a court order asking the company to crack the iPhone of the San Bernardino shooter. Tomorrow, rallies against the FBI are planned at more than 30 Apple stores.
The issue comes down to balancing the government's right to know in order to criminally prosecute a wrongdoer and investigate terrorism versus the privacy rights of individuals.
In a letter posted online Sunday, FBI Director James Comey urged Apple to comply with the court order. Apple CEO Tim Cook responded with an internal email sent to the tech company's staffers. Cook says the proposed software would threaten everyone's civil liberties.
The Uber driver accused of gunning down 6 people in a 5-hour rampage in Kalamazoo, Michigan, appeared in court today where he admitted to the killings. Jason Brian Dalton was charged with 6 counts of murder and 2 counts of assault with intent to commit murder. Police say Dalton drove to 3 different locations on Saturday, shooting victims at random. The first 2 killed were a father and son out car shopping. The next was a group of 4 women out having dinner together. Police say he picked up Uber passengers between the shootings.
This morning, when we were starting to piece it together, it still didn't feel like it was real. The name was released and a picture was released on the news, and we looked at the Uber receipt and it was his. Our interaction with him was very basic. It was like a 5-minute ride. And I said, "You're not the shooter, are you?" And he said no.
According to a witness, the suspect took a call before the shooting started. Investigators are trying to find out who was on the other end of the phone.
The tragedy in Kalamazoo has led some to question Uber's hiring practices, as the alleged shooter was apparently a driver for the ride-sharing giant. Reporter Helen Flourish talked with some LA drivers to learn more about what it takes to hit the road with Uber.
I love Uber. I love all the drivers. I love talking to them.
Uber has become more than just an app. It's a cultural phenomenon.
I actually use it quite often, every day I would say.
I probably take the USC Uber at least every other day.
Probably at least 3 times a week.
According to the company's website, Uber has drivers in 382 cities around the world. But what does it take to drive for Uber?
As far as steps, I didn't feel like there's many steps, I guess, because I pass it.
Thomas Frazier started working with Uber in November. The comedian, who also has a commercial driver's license, says the company mostly uses email to talk with drivers.
A message. I think a lot of it's through email. You don't really talk to anybody on the phone.
But when it comes to emergencies, Frazier feels like Uber has him covered.
Yeah, you're right. Because I just got a flat tire a couple of days ago. And when I wrote into them, they wrote back saying, call this line and just let them know. Perfect. So yeah, they did have an emergency line.
Steve Seifert is a musician who also drives for Uber and Lyft. He's been working for Uber since September.
It's made it definitely a lot easier for me to be able to work on any bizarre schedule that I have.
Still, Seifert thinks drivers are the ones who should worry about safety.
You don't know what people have on them. You don't know if they have weapons. You don't know if they just robbed a liquor store.
Then again, Seifert says it's worth the risk to help his music career.
Help that way. And then people want to come and see the band play, and they want to know when I'm playing, and then they'll come down and see me play.
For Annenberg Media, I'm Helen Flourish.
A Connecticut judge will decide whether the families of Sandy Hook victims can sue Remington Rifles. That's the company that made the AR-15 assault rifle used by the shooter in the elementary school massacre.
In order to attack the people at Sandy Hook School, he chose the AR-15 because he was aware of how many shots it could get out, how lethal it was, the way it was designed, that it would serve his objective of killing as many people as possible in the shortest time possible.
Parents say they are suing to prevent similar tragedies. They want the company to stop making AR-15 rifles. Remington Rifles says federal law protects it from these kinds of lawsuits.
Nevada will be hosting the Republican caucus tomorrow. This year, caucus organizers say they put an extra emphasis on preparation for the event to make sure everything runs smoothly. Ted Cruz is campaigning in Reno. Today, his communications director resigned after the Cruz campaign released a video that falsely depicted rival Marco Rubio dismissing the Bible. Rubio got a boost today after receiving an endorsement from former presidential nominee Bob Dole. Dole joined the Rubio camp after his former favorite Jeb Bush dropped out of the race over the weekend. Meanwhile, Donald Trump remains the favorite to win tomorrow's caucus. Analysts think that his anti-government message will be well received in the state.
We have staff across the state, and we've been recruiting volunteers for all 17 Nevada counties. We've prepared over 140 caucus site locations, and we've just been working real hard to make sure everything's covered going into next Tuesday.
State officials took 3 days to release the final tally last time Nevada hosted the caucus in 2012. This year, Republicans are expecting one of the largest caucus turnouts in the state's history.
Hillary Clinton will be in Hancock Park tonight raising money for her presidential campaign. The 7 p.m. event will be hosted by MarketShare co-founder John Vane and his wife. Earlier today, Clinton was at a fundraiser in Studio City. Bernie Sanders is brushing off the 5-point loss to Clinton in Saturday's Democratic caucus in Nevada. He pointed to his success among Latino voters and acknowledged he did poorly with the African-American vote. Bernie Sanders blamed his loss on low voter turnout.
Students at Cal State schools are frustrated with the current graduation rates. A new plan is designed to change that.
Metro officials are assessing damage to the Expo line this morning after a car drove over the street barrier and into a train at Expo Park.
And the Oscars are glamorous on television, but a nightmare for residents. As the red carpet rolls out, the traffic around Hollywood is rolling to a stop.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
Heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Hey, it's Ava, and this is Tess from Vivo's Do It Yourselfie, where we recreate the hottest looks from today's biggest music videos.
After cleaning out our closet, we have a lot of clothes we don't wear anymore.
Like this old t-shirt.
It's not garbage, it's actually a brand new rug.
And to make it, all you need to do is cut, tie, and glue.
Cut the t-shirt into strips.
Tie the strips into knots.
And glue the knots to the bath mat. I love it. Give your garbage another life.
And recycle.
The 4-year graduation rate on Cal State universities is 18%. That's 25% lower than the national average. Annenberg Media's Kelly Rinke learned more about a proposed plan to help CSU students graduate in 4 years.
Cal State University students come to college planning to graduate in 4 years, but most are walking out in 5 or 6.
It's unbelievable.
The 4-year graduation rate at Cal State schools in LA is as low as 5%.
During freshman orientation, they usually sell you the, oh, it's going to be fine as long as you're on top of getting your classes done. But when reality hits.
But a bill called California Promise is trying to fix that. The plan lets students sign an optional contract that will help them graduate in 4 years. They will get priority registration and a tuition freeze, but they must take 30 units each year and maintain a minimum GPA.
I'm trying to give them a collection of tools and incentives that they can put in place to be a lot more successful, and I'm hoping that it will be a cooperative effort.
According to the Cal State Chancellor's office, the average time it takes for a student to get a degree is 4.7 years. At a UC school, it's a little less, 4.3 years. And some students I talked to here at Cal State LA say that even with a rigorous course load, they're still not able to graduate in 4 years.
I'm doing more than 20 units per quarter.
Greg is a 5th-year bio major. That's because early on, he could not register for many prerequisites.
Those were all impacted until I turned year 3. And usually you take those year 1, year 2.
But an extra year means almost $5,000 more in tuition. In response to the plan, the Cal State Chancellor's office says the California State University shares Senator Glazer's goal of helping students earn their degree in a timely manner. The CSU has not taken a position on the bill at this time. The plan will go before the State Senate Education Committee within the next 30 to 60 days. From Annenberg Media, I'm Kelly Rieke.
An SUV drove over the barrier onto the metro tracks and into an expo train this morning near Exposition and Normandy. None of the passengers on the train were injured.
I heard it like a big old crash. Then I looked in that direction and I seen the BMW get drugged from quite a distance where it stopped at. And then me and my folks ran over here, hopped the wall, tried to help the dude get out.
A car had cut in front of the train and the train had hit the car and we were on there for like hours.
The driver was treated on the scene for injuries and was later transported to the hospital. The driver is listed in stable condition and the injuries are not serious. Authorities removed the SUV from the track and metro services resumed at around 10:45 this morning.
City Councilman Curran Price announced today the city is allocating $1 million to clean South LA streets. Reporter Chris Porter tells us more about the Clean and Green campaign to remove trash from the area.
Residents will see increased trash collection and monthly community cleanups as part of a $1 million effort to clean the streets of South LA.
The $300,000 that you have given us will make and have already started to make a big difference. In fact, with it, we will be able and have already deployed 3 additional crews.
$300,000 allocated by the city is going towards LA Sanitation Services. An additional $370,000 for bulky items pickup. LA Sanitation Director Enrique C. Zaldazar said LA Sanitation will remain visible through these increased efforts in the 9th District to protect public health and the environment through the Clean Streets LA program. Councilman Price commended the partnering organizations and called for neighbors to take part in keeping the streets clean.
It is time for a turnaround for South LA. I am hopeful and optimistic that we have finally have a leader who is willing to fight to bring these changes to our community, which it so desperately needs.
However, some community members think the city is making promises it can't keep.
The streets are always dirty. You know, city always says, oh, we're gonna clean up, we're gonna do something. And as you can see, our city, our area is still dirty as it is, you know. There's never ever a promise in the community.
PSAs are posted throughout the 9th District in English and Spanish, urging residents to notify officials of any illegal dumping, bulky items, and graffiti. For Annenberg Media, I'm Chris Porter.
Well, we got a bit of rain last week, and then it just went away, and now it's hot.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I don't even know what to wear anymore. Let's toss it over to our weather anchor, Veronica, to find out what's happening. Veronica?
Yeah, thanks, Priscilla and Dan. Yeah, it has been a pretty crazy out there, but now it's starting to warm up this week, and although it did rain last week, it seems to be gone for at least until March, so it's time to put away the rain boots and take out those sandals. But first, let's take a look at the current temperatures. As you can see, it's still pretty warm out there, even with the sun already down. If you have night classes, it will drop a bit to mid-low 60s, so I'd bring a light long sleeve. Now for tomorrow's temperature, we can see that we have 51 in Big Bear, 80 down in Palm Springs, San Bernardino, 79. And moving up north, we have 79 Thousand Oaks down by Malibu, 78, pretty breezy. Now moving back down to USC, we have 79 at USC, pretty warm campus. We're going to have 81 down in Long Beach, and Anaheim, 84. Now if we take a look at the 5-day forecast ahead, we can see that it's going to be 80 in the 80s most of the week, going down to the 70s down Sunday. So we're going to have a pretty warm weekend also. Now each week I will show you some of the best Hispanic food places in Los Angeles, and in my segment, Venture with Veronica, since it's hot outside, it's perfect to start with some fresh seafood. Mariscos Jalisco is a popular food truck that has won Best Taco in LA. The owner, Raul Ortega, thanks his famous fried shrimp taco.
Mezcla de vegetales.
It's a mix of vegetables and shrimp.
Mariscos Jalisco is located on Olympic Boulevard between Dakota and Evergreen. And although it is a food truck, it never moves, so you always know where to find it.
That looks so good.
I know. With the temperature getting this warm, I think I might make a stop. Thank you so much, Veronica.
Yeah, no problem.
The stars will be out and about in Hollywood for the Academy Awards, but not a lot of other people will be. Street and sidewalk closures were announced today as Oscar preparations begin. The biggest closure is on Hollywood Boulevard, which is shut down between Highland Avenue and Orange Drive until 6 a.m. on March 1st. Some visitors and residents are already feeling the effects.
Today we've been trying to find parking for about, I want to say, at least 30, 45 minutes because we're here to see Jimmy Kimmel. And had we not left like 3 hours in advance, I don't think we would have made the show.
It's a little bit of an inconvenience, but you know what? It's part of the charm and the excitement of living right here in Hollywood. So I'll put up with it.
Sidewalks will continue to be closed down throughout the week. The Academy Awards take place this Sunday at the Dolby Theater. For more on which streets to avoid this week, visit uscannenbergmedia.com.
Wow, so much is going on around here this week. I'm looking forward to the Oscars, but I'm not looking forward to the traffic.
I'm hearing that we have a busy week of sports ahead of us. Randall, catch us up, man.
Yeah, Dan, we got a lot going on this week in sports. A lot of teams are competing for championships in Tinseltown. Coming up, I'll give you an update on the #1 ranked women's golf team. And the home streak is over for men's basketball, but they can still make history. Meanwhile, the swim teams are going for gold. All that and more coming up next.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
So they say it's a man's world? I don't see anybody's name on it.
While they were doing their thing, we slowly changed ours.
Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
USC men's basketball has just taken their first loss at home, but now their eyes are off the streak and set on the Pac-12 and getting to the NCAA tournament. The Trojans are now 15-1 at home, but still have another milestone in their sights. They seek their first 20-win finish since the 2008-2009 season and a bid to March Madness.
We have 2 big road games coming up this week, and then we have 2 home games to finish the Pac-12 season, and we have a chance to win a few more games, but we also know that we could lose all 4 because the Pac-12 is so good.
Next, the Trojans will visit Palo Alto to take on Stanford this Thursday. Tip-off is set for 8 p.m. The game will be broadcast on the Pac-12 network. The #1 ranked women's golf team is looking to stay hot at the Long Beach Gold Rush tournament today. The women of Troy hold a double-digit lead over the rest of the field at 6 under. Freshman Robin Ree is in first at 3 under. USC holds the top 4 spots. Junior Tiffany Chan is in second, and senior Kyung Kim and sophomore Amy Lee are tied for third. The ladies are done for the day, but they hope to finish strong in the last day of the tournament tomorrow. Round 1 of day 2 starts at 8 a.m. USC men's baseball is getting into the swing of things as they got a big win at home. The 12th ranked Trojans beat North Dakota with a walk-off hit from senior outfielder Timmy Robinson. Robinson and the Trojans needed that win to get back into the swing of things after last season's performance got him all Pac-12. He was getting off to a bit of a slow start this year, but it can definitely help the confidence when your first hit of the season is a walk-off. Trojan baseball is back in action tomorrow as they make the short trip to face the Loyola Marymount Lions. The first pitch will be thrown at 6 p.m. Men and women's track and field will be competing in the MPSF Indoor Championships Friday and Saturday. Sophomore Dior Hall and senior Andre DeGrasse hope to defend their 60-meter titles from last season. Senior and school record holder Jade Stepter got second in last year's 400-meter hurdles and also looks to take gold in her last MPSF meet. Speaking of action in the water, the women's swimming team is getting ready for the Pac-12 championships this Wednesday, while the men get an extra week to prepare. The ladies are led by senior Kendall Stewart, who holds school records in the 100-yard butterfly and the 200-yard backstroke. The men are led by junior Stephen Stump, who holds the school record in the 200-yard breaststroke and won it in last year's Pac-12 meet. After a flurry of big wins over rival California schools, they're optimistic about their chances.
I think we've been swimming really fast. Those wins against Cal and Stanford were huge. It's the first time we've done it in 16 years, so I think we have a lot of momentum going in. All of our times in these past dual meets have been faster than what we've been going in the past couple years, so I think we have a lot of momentum moving forward.
The women's team begins their fourth-day meet starting Wednesday. After Saturday's results, the best of the best will get a Pac-12 invite on Sunday. Wow. We're doing pretty good this week. We got a lot of action going on in the water.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks a lot, Randall.
I know. Thanks, Randall.
Yeah.
Well, a 106-year-old woman got the trip of her life.
Find out who she got to dance with on her special day.
The next 30 seconds can save you a lot of money. Just do your laundry in cold and stick to full loads. Auto-sleep your computers. Plug your gadgets in a power strip and switch it off when you're done. Headed out? Turn back your thermostat by 10 degrees. And drive sensibly. The more energy you save, the more money you save. Find other great tips at energysaver.gov.
Thank you, dear. Well, you're very supple, just like I was at your age. Back then, I was a sex expert. Used to call me the buttered biscuit. I know about birth control, too. So you can ask me anything, baby.
Bedsider.org has birth control information and a lot more. And it's...
Have you had sex in this car yet?
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
A 106-year-old shows us you are...
What's the secret to still dancing at 106?
Giddy up. Just keep dancing.
We're so happy to have you here. And look at those nails.
Those nails. Yes, sir.
Alrighty, well, thank you so much for tuning in at Annenberg TV News. From everyone here, I'm Priscilla Casper.
And I'm Daniel Tran. You can watch us at the web at uscannenbergmedia.com.